So we're gonna try to do a new segment to the podcast. It's called Bare Necessities, and I'm here with my guy Joe.
What's up, guys?
So so we both are huge Bears fans, obviously, and we just wanted to have like a weekly show that we put out. We get feedback and we interact with you guys. And closer to the season, as things are ramping up and during the season, we'll probably do it more than once a week. But once a week is the plan right now. But Joe, if you want to tell the audience more about your love affair with the Bears and tell them what's going on.
What's up, guys? I just want to first of all say hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Follow my guy Lefty here. He's done some great things with, the sports world in general. He's very well knowledged and, all sports all across the board. And like he said, we're going to be talking about, the Bears. I'm excited to be here on this podcast. I think this is going to be pretty cool. We're excited to see where this goes. And, we're just here to talk Bears. Probably talk a little Bulls later on, talk a little, Cubs or Sox in the summer, whatever may come, but we'll get there when we get there. We'll cross that, bridge when it comes, but right now we want to, obviously talk about the Bears, their off season, and go forth from there.
Yeah, so this is going to be a weekly thing. Like I said, the podcast, the arm to this podcast is going to be called Bare Necessities, and right now the hot topic is basically the combine and how that affects Justin Fields and what exactly is happening right now with them, or what is going to happen.
I got to tell you about my love affair first.
Go for it.
It's great. I love the Bears. It's great. They give you such a headache. It's like a marriage. I mean, I wish they could make up their mind, and we're going to get into that, I'm sure. 95% of the people probably on here watching this would agree with what we believe the Bears should go forth with. But, being a Bears fan, it is hard being where we're at right now and just obviously dealing with the struggles of the last couple of years and some of the ups and downs, some of the inconsistency, trying new things and expecting to win a Super Bowl year one with a lot of the past stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bringing in new quarterbacks and stuff like that, but we're going to get on here and talk about some of those things.
So here we go. We expect the Bears to do something either during the combine or shortly after. They're currently meeting in the building or have met over at Hallis Hall, trying to figure out, or they may have figured out already, what they're going to do.
They just had their coaches meet. They had their press conference.
Right. So, like I think the offensive coordinator talked today, that douchebag, and so we're gonna.
I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. I know that he's done some pretty good stuff over there in Seattle as far as the 3 years that he was out there, and well, they didn't get Shanahan's little lineage or nothing like that, but we got who we got, and let's see what we can do with it.
All
they
I
had some
know
pros.
is, man, the Saints head coach came out and said that we feel like we got the best hire in the coordinator market.
I think the Saints always think something like that. I mean, they got Derek Carr throwing the ball for all we know, and your buddy, was it Hill?
Oh, yeah.
Who has had wonderful against you in fantasy football, but we'll go.
Yeah,
anyways.
yeah, that was tough. But so let's go over what to do with Fields. Okay. First, we're going to comment on what we want them to do.
Yeah.
And then we're going to comment on what do we think is actually going to happen.
Yeah.
So, Joe, if you want to take it away.
Well, like most people, obviously would agree that we want to see Fields stay. We want to see Fields, continue to grow, right? I want to see him just grow. I want to see what he flourishes into. I feel like that, I don't know if it's something that with Chicago, we just have a thing of where we don't let people really grow sports-wide, and then they show up to another team and they're, all-star caliber, 2 years from now, or they're the highlight of their team or something, and it's like, I don't know if it's something, break every chain type thing, where like, hey, can we just see somebody be developed, see somebody grow, and see somebody just, just give them an opportunity. We have to stop believing and thinking that we're gonna bring in a new coach and a new quarterback and it's gonna work out in a year or two. I would like to see him just kind of grow. I'll touch up a little bit, but.
So I'll just reiterate some of the points that I made on a previous video. Like Joe said, we have to let people grow. We gave Mitch 4 years. Fields is on year number 3, and we're already trying to get him out of town. And he's been here through all the sadness and BS that we've had going on the last couple years, and when Nagy was over here ruining absolutely everything, and then he was here through Luke Getzey, who, Lord,
Help us.
is the balls at your own 5, and he's the screen master. And it's
Nagy
just been
threw a lot of screens too.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Nagy threw a lot of screens too. Yeah, it's bad.
So anyway, I loved it, and it's not just that I like Fields. Everybody does. The whole
Yes.
team does.
Yeah.
The whole city does. But even more so than that, we would have to use our number 1 asset to draft Caleb Williams. And that's an asset that, and the asset I'm talking about is the first pick of the draft. That's an asset that can set us up if we trade down with the right team for the right package. That's a asset that could set us up for the next 2 to 3 years, depending on the picks we get back and how far into the future they go. So,
I got something.
yeah.
Go ahead. Caleb Williams.
No, so Caleb Williams would basically have to be better than all those future picks and compensation we would have got for that pick. And then we would have to sign, because we're not going to use that asset, for future picks.
No.
We would have to then lean on free agency more than what we want to, because we don't have the picks that we would have gotten. So, it's not only that we trade the best asset that's going to get us picks back, but also how are we going to get our wide receiver? How are we going to get, our linemen? How are we going to get an edge rusher, right? Like, we only got 1 first rounder after that. So 2 of those 3 areas that I just talked about, we have to spend money on. Well, wide receivers cost over $20 million now. So do edge rushers.
You're setting the bar high.
Wide receivers, edge rushers. Who was the third?
Offensive line.
The offensive line. That means that we can't draft a tackle then, right? Braxton Jones has to be the guy.
Yeah.
Because I don't see us drafting a tackle at 9 and then signing both a D end and a wide receiver. That's a $45 million commitment per year. So that's where my head's at, and that's what Caleb Williams would have to overcome. From us not getting those draft picks and building a team cheaper and being able to use that money in other areas that we need.
Yeah. So one of my points across is I wanted to mention, as far as Fields, as far as keeping him, he's really like a love in Chicago. I would go back to even question like some of the previous quarterbacks that we've had. When have we seen the city really kind of defend their quarterback? I mean, I think Fields is one of those quarterbacks that we've learned to just kind of fall in love with, not just the team itself, like I said, but like the city itself. We go back and we could talk about previous quarterbacks and how we argued with them all day. And Fields isn't the greatest. He's got a lot of work to do. But I'm just saying, like, I think that the city has got this guy's back. We have this young kid's back, and we want to see him stay. We want to see him grow. We want to see him flourish. A lot of people forget that last year, one of my notes that I wanted to point across is that last year the Bears finished off 3-12, right, with Fields playing, right? They went 3-12 with him. With that being said, they go 5-8 this year when he was healthy, when he was playing. I honestly think that a healthy Fields would have probably gotten us at 8-9. I'm not going to push it over the 500 mark with Getsy. But I'm going to say those 4 games that, I honestly believe that he probably would have went 3-1 combined, and would have had a good stretch of a year. The one thing that I did find out was, I don't know if you recall this, but Fields was an MVP candidate last year at 3-12 through my research. He was an MVP candidate. He actually had a vote.
He had a vote.
He had votes. So you go 3-12, you're arguably, from my research, 9th, 10th, 11th in MVP rating with a 3-12 record. I think that's something to remember.
He's the only Bears quarterback to be voted the top 100 by other NFL players.
Yes.
The only Bears quarterback.
Yes. So, I mean, it says a lot about him. Like I said, I want to see him stay. I want to see what, this Seattle's coordinator and pretty much the whole Seattle offensive coaching staff that came over, I mean, if anything got better, the weather got better, I would say, for a portion of it, because who knows what the weather's like in our northwestern region of this nation.
Right. Yeah, they were giving out those jobs to anybody.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we basically went over what we would like to do, and should we keep them? We basically went over that. Now, what if we traded him? How different is that?
Well, if we trade Fields, obviously the rumor is, well, the big two I would say is Atlanta, right? We got Atlanta. Yeah. That's common. I know.
Which is basically his home state.
Everyone knows that. The other one is Pittsburgh that kind of came out of nowhere. They're looking at Fields. They're looking at what he can provide for the team. A lot better than what Mitch was doing for them over there, of course. But hey, let me tell you this: they had a winning record.
They always do.
He is going 17 years in a row with a winning record.
Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin goes 17 years, and this year he has no quarterback. I mean, he
hasn't had a quarterback since Big Ben.
Fields had more touchdowns in one game than Pickett had before he went out.
Man.
And then you got Mitch Trubisky that you lean on. And you finish the season going to the playoffs. So, I mean, I know there are teams that's out there looking for Fields. I don't know how much, in reality, Pittsburgh has to offer. One of the things that I like to, that I've been discussing about a lot is just, if we trade Fields, obviously we're looking at picks. You mentioned picks. Picks is longevity. I think picks is beautiful.
If we trade Fields or if we keep Fields?
No, if you trade him. You were asking about trading him. So I think if we trade him, obviously you're trying to get picks off of him. We did well last year with Moore. Getting some picks, it paid off greatly, as you can see. The other thing is just what we were talking about, at least, was I like to see them bring in defensive players. See who's out there. New England, I know we haven't been talking about New England. Washington is kind of like the big thing, right? But New England, we know this, playing fantasy so much, New England has always managed to have some type of top defensive team. They've always happened to be somewhere in that top 10 defensively every year. So, I mean, with them having the 3rd pick, if we're able to trade Fields, they need a quarterback. They don't like Mac Jones over there. I know that for a fact.
No,
they don't like Mac Jones over there for nothing.
They hate
I mean, he's as bad as old boy from the Jets, Wilson.
Right.
So they have a love-hate relationship with their quarterbacks in these teams. So I would like to see, if it's a possibility, what defensive assets you can get from New England, who always has top defensive players because they finish somehow in the top 10 just about every year. They always got a great defensive team. What do they have to offer? So picks, you get the third pick, you get probably another pick in the future, maybe even a second round pick this year.
You're talking about for Fields.
For Fields. If we trade him, that's what I would like to see him.
Yeah, I haven't seen any, like, I think the ceiling, the absolute ceiling is a first rounder. I wouldn't count on that happening. I think we probably get a second for Fields right now.
That's what I believe. I agree 100%. I don't think any team is going to give up a first rounder
No.
unless it's KC at 32nd because they got a quarterback. But they're not going to do it. They need wide receiver help over there.
Mm-hmm. So, I think we end up with a second rounder for him.
Some future picks probably.
Maybe like a second and a fourth next year, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the haul that we're going to give for the first pick, if we trade the first pick, and that's kind of where I see that market being. To me, all the math says to trade the pick and not to trade Fields, but I do think at this point, either the Bears are they deserve an Academy Award for this acting job they're doing, for this smoke and mirrors that they're pulling, or they're gonna draft Caleb and trade Justin. That's pretty much where I'm at, and that's what I think that they're gonna do.
I believe nobody knows what they're going to do until the moment that it comes out. I think just, the 4 or 5 people that are in office talking about this, are the only ones that really know what's going on. Just like the rest of us, obviously, we're just out here kind of just hoping.
And if we draft Caleb, what do we, if we draft Caleb, and I think you'd agree.
Yeah.
The team on offense isn't going to look that much different. Because we're going to be limited. We only got one more pick in the first round. And then maybe we get a receiver in the second round that we would have gotten for Fields. Which the wide receiver class is really deep this year. But we've got Marvin Harrison Jr. right there.
Yeah.
We've got him.
Even at 2, possibly
even at 2 or 3.
Possibly.
Because Washington's going to take a quarterback for sure.
Yes.
And then
they're not going to have Sam Howell throwing the ball. Sorry.
No, they're not. And so but I think, right now, unless it's like a crazy, all-time heist type thing that the Bears are trying to do, they're probably going to trade Justin and draft Caleb, and I just don't see that working out at all. We went over on a previous episode on this podcast that basically Caleb Williams didn't play in a good conference, and when he faced somebody that was decent, which was Notre Dame, he's crying on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't play in that bowl game, and the guy that hasn't been practicing with the ones all year for the guy that hadn't been practicing with the ones all year basically threw 6 touchdown passes in that game after only 2 weeks of practicing with the guys that Caleb has been playing all year. Like, it just
kind of shows you, like, is he really what people say? Because here comes your secondary, and probably performs just as good as you, if not even better than you during a bowl game, and it's just like, okay, hey, who's that kid?
Right. Like, what is Caleb Williams' record against ranked teams? Like, I think I know for sure it's below 500. I thought I seen something about 2-8 or 2-9, something like that. Horrible QBR. And I do remember Justin Fields with Ohio State making the college playoffs. I do remember that.
We like stats. We'll throw out some stats. So here's a stat that I kind of came up with that I saw online was, I don't know if you ran across this stat right here, but, Caleb Williams, in his 2 years at USC, against non-top 25 he had 23 starts against those, and he did pretty well. Accomplished, completed, 70% of passes. Passing yards per game, 318. Touchdown interception ratio, 78 with 7 interceptions. That's great, against non-ranked teams. He played against 5 top 25 ranked teams in his time at USC. We talk about that week conference. We talk about, stuff like that. He goes 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and has a completion rate of only 51%. So, I mean, the numbers drop.
Drastically.
They drop drastically. You go 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions against, a top 25 team.
And we expect him to largely inherit 90% of what Justin Fields is working with, and we expect him to just outperform Fields, and it'd be worth it.
Well, not only that, but you go back to what we were talking about, in the very beginning of this podcast about how the Bears have this issue where, unfortunately, and we as a city have to, or fans even, right, nationwide, have to kind of just bite our lip or tongue or whatever, and it's just like, you do it again. You bring in a new offensive coordinator, a new rookie quarterback, or a new quarterback in general, and we just expect them to be, above 500 team. And it's just like, we've seen this happen over and over again. I'm not going to get into, the craziness of why I don't want to see this happen over again,
Well, also another problem is, okay, let's say the Bears trade Justin, get Caleb.
You're going to spend money on wide receivers.
You got to spend money on wide receivers now.
And there's some great ones out there.
Yeah.
But they will get paid.
Yeah, and also, we had somebody in the building, right?
Yeah.
We had somebody in the building that coached someone with the same skill set as Caleb Williams. Similar stature and everything, right? 5'11", whatever he is. Kyler Murray was about 5'10".
Yeah.
And then the year after he wins the Heisman, Caleb's QB coach and senior offensive assistant at USC, we had him in the building, interviewed him.
Yes, we did.
So if you're going to go down that rabbit hole and draft Caleb, why would you draft somebody else who he doesn't have chemistry with? Why not provide that comfort zone? By the way, that comfort zone was, former NFL head coach.
Yes.
Coach someone with a similar skill set.
Yes. Same style of quarterback.
Same style of quarterback.
Strong arm,
Mobile.
Move around, mobile.
No, let's let him walk away, right? And then let's get somebody else in here whose claim to fame is Geno Smith having one good year. Which, it was a good year, and it was a great job. Comeback player of the year, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if you
get
draft Caleb, you've got Caleb's guy there.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got him in the building, and you let him walk.
Yeah, yeah. Like
So either way, we look stupid.
You bring in a coach who has a coaching style of what Justin Fields needs, what we've been talking about. You have an offensive coordinator who's going to come in and, a whole offensive setup that Geno Smith, I mean, he is a similar style of play of Justin Fields, I believe.
Similar career, too.
Similar career, similar style of play. You're talking about, Lamar Jackson type, running quarterbacks who will do great at running the ball, but also have, good throwing. So, I mean, you turn him into a comeback player of the year, right? Most improved player of the year type stuff. You hire that guy. You don't hire the guy that Caleb Williams would succeed with. But now you want to play this game of, are we going to keep Justin, or are we going to, get rid of him?
That's kind of why, low-key, I'm still holding out hope that we're keeping Justin, is because Geno Smith and Justin Fields, similar type quarterbacks, similar career path.
Similar physiques, very similar physiques.
They're
Yeah.
pretty they're more similar than what Geno Smith and Caleb Williams are.
Oh, yeah.
And if we were gung ho on trading on drafting Caleb Williams, then why wouldn't we take Cliff Kingsbury
Yeah.
as the LC? It doesn't make any sense to me. But I wanted Clint Kubiak all along, and we didn't get him. And now New Orleans is, dancing outside with gravy on right now.
And Kingsbury went over to Washington,
Yeah, he did.
who is pushing heavily to get that #1 seed because that just what makes sense, right?
Yeah,
It's just what makes sense.
and it's just all about
If this kid plays like Mahomes, the way they say that he's gonna be up Mahomes, and Kingsbury coached Mahomes in college. Coach who we just talked about, Murray.
that's a good point.
He coaches these kids in college. He coaches Murray in the in the NFL in Arizona, right?
Yeah.
And they got Caleb Williams in hand. That's why he's making such a big push. That's why Washington is doing what they're gonna do to try to get their guy. And I mean, he may be great, but you're right. As far as us talking about the Bears themselves, we had the guy in the building. If this is the way that Poles wants to go, is to bring in this young kid and have him be the face of our franchise, then you hire the guy that can do it.
Right.
This is in our opinion, guys. I don't Waldron, like I said, and if I'm Waldron, I'm like, dude, I'm trying to keep Fields and do what I did with Geno with Fields,
Yeah.
but for long term because Geno's obviously up there in age.
Well, and this will probably be the final point about Fields and Caleb, but me and Righty, you could check on past videos on the podcast, but me and her were talking. I'm not sure if we were talking on camera or off, but she made the point that Mahomes played in the SEC at Texas A&M.
Yes, he did.
That's a totally different conference than the Pac-12.
Yes.
So, the competition that Mahomes was facing is totally different. Matter of fact, Kingsbury, became a head coach because of the conference that, he became a head coach because of the college football conference he was in.
Yes.
So, anyway, we think, I think the underdog or I can't think of the word, but to me, I think we got a stronger chance than what some people think of keeping Justin. However, we're aware of the favorite and the possibility of drafting Caleb, and we're trying to analyze things from all sides here and just trying to provide
Because
insight.
there are obviously a lot of pros to Caleb Williams. There's not, he isn't just the talk because he's just some young kid. I mean, we would have been talking about Drake Mays or Jaden Daniels or something like that. There's a reason why Caleb Williams is getting the coverage that he's getting. So it ain't all bad. We're not 100% negative on this kid because if he comes to play, then he's going to be our quarterback. So, but that's obviously our strong opinion on Justin Fields right now.
So, this will be the end of this segment. We are going to talk about more later on, but this is the end of this segment. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace. All right, so